Well, here we are. We're going to read the second chapter of The Recipient, The Wild Card, circa 1970. Small town Americana. A little bundle of energy with blonde hair and a spark of life in his eyes made a dash for the biggest slide in the park. He loved the feel of running fast. Made him feel like superhero. He climbed up to the top and looked around from his perch. He looked up. I wonder if I can see heaven from here, he thought. 5-year-old boys think of such things. They also have a short attention span. He slid down and made a mad dash for a peculiarly shaped oak tree. The huge knot in it made it easier to climb. He launched himself up the tree and scrambled up a branch. Then the next one. Bear, you're going too high, he heard his mom shout from the front porch. Oh, let him go. He's a boy, said Bear's dad, walking to the house from the pole barn. Boys climb trees. After supper, Bear walked into the living room. The Brady Bunch was on TV, and Bear liked watching the show, but he was getting distracted. His eyes kept drifting to the left side of the green plaid couch. It didn't look any different. Strange. He cocked his head like he had seen the dog do so many times. Maybe that helped the brain process thoughts better. Something was drawing him to that spot. He stuck his hand in between the cushions and felt around. He found something small and hard and pulled it out. It was a ring. A diamond ring. He ran outside with a big smile on his face. Mom, I found your ring. Bear's mom smiled at him as she took the ring from him and put it on her finger. She asked, where did you find it? Bear took her to the living room and showed her where he had found it. He was familiar with this type of thing happening, but he didn't tell his mom everything. She might not understand. Around 3 o'clock that night, Bear woke up terrified. He tried to call for help, but nothing came out. He was afraid to open his eyes. He tried to get out of bed, but he couldn't move. After what seemed like an eternity, his legs started working again. So he jumped out of bed and ran to his parents' bedroom. Mom! Her eyes snapped open. And they fastened on Bear. What is it, Bear? She saw that familiar fear in his eyes and said, is it her? Bear didn't say anything. He just nodded. The lady in the red was back again. Every so often, Bear would have a nightmare of a frozen lady in a red dress that was behind the refrigerator. His mom wondered if it was because of the previous owners of the house. There were rumors that he was an alcoholic, and whatever happened there stayed in the walls of the house. Meanwhile, Bear's dad was stirring from sleep. He sat up and saw Bear. Why are you up? He asked. Bear hung his head and mumbled, nightmare. His dad reacted brusquely. What's the matter with you? Go back to bed. Nightmares can't hurt you. Besides, I've got a shotgun right here. He reached down and patted the double-barrel shotgun near his head. Anything gets in here, I'll take care of it. Standing nearby, yet invisible to the members of the family, were Keandra and Zavon, who asked, does this gift put him in danger? Keandra replied, being a seer is a privilege, but it carries with it certain... Zavon interrupted. Is that a yes then? Keandra smiled. Zavon always did like to get right to the point. Yes, the greater the potential for good, the more attention he gets from the enemy. So you're going to have your hands full. Next, the 1980s. The distinct smell of wrestling mats, Bengay, and sweat filled the air as Bear was practicing his takedowns. He called it shadow wrestling. He liked working on his technique after everyone else had gone. There was a comforting familiarity about this room. He felt more secure here than in the halls of the school or the classrooms. The door opened up and the janitor pushed his cart into the room. "Hey kid, why don't you hit the shower? I have to clean up." Bear nodded his head and walked out past a poster of Dan Gable in his prime, executing a perfect over and under throw. Bear looked at the poster and wondered to himself, how do you become a legend? I wonder if I'll ever inspire anyone. Then he heard himself say out loud, "What good am I?" He stopped for a second, wondering where that thought came from. That got dark fast, he thought. Lurking nearby, unseen by human eyes, was a lone figure with a hint of a sinister smile on his face. It was Dagon. "I wish you'd eat more," Bear's mom said, watching him eat a small pile of peas and a little turkey. "The state qualifier's coming up, Mom. I have to drop some weight. If I take state or even place well, that could land me a good scholarship to Iowa State." His mom said, "I know you really want to get into their architectural program, but I don't like to see you starving yourself." At that moment, Bear's dad came in and Mom asked him how his day was. His response was curt, "Oh, you know, like any other. How'd your match go tonight, Bear?" Bear's eyes brightened a little and said, "I beat him 7-3. He was ranked 6th in state." Dad responded without even thinking, "Why didn't you pin him?" Bear quickly looked down to his plate to avoid showing what his eyes revealed. Bear's dad sensed the tension, glanced at Bear's mom, took a breath like he was going to say something, but walked out of the room instead. Bear's dad was the definition of old school. He loved his family and was a good provider. He would die for them in a heartbeat, but revealing any emotion was a whole different matter. As Bear was standing in the doorway of his bedroom, wondering if he should go back into the kitchen and find something to eat, or just ignore his stomach growling, he suddenly saw himself in another place. He could still see his bedroom and everything around him, but he could also see another scene, like a dream, but he wasn't asleep. He watched as the other him, approached a table in a foyer with a package on it. The package was small enough to carry. It was decorated like a Christmas present. It was wrapped in shiny paper that changed color, from purple to green to mauve, depending on how the light hit it. The bow was no less amazing. It had 4 loops with diamond chips fastened on them. If the wrapping is that ornate, the gift itself must be amazing. He picked it up, and the scene changed. He was now in a shopping mall, carrying the present. He was weaving in and out of the shoppers, looking for the person who was supposed to receive the gift. Somehow he knew it was very important to get that gift to the intended recipient. He also knew that when he found the right person, he would just know. Then, poof, it was over. He was back in his bedroom, thinking, what in the world was all that about?